To optimize the camera for a sunset scene, you might want to use the sunset scene mode. For more control over the camera's functions, however, you'll want to use the program mode. You might need to use the camera's manual focus. You'll want to turn the flash off, set an appropriate ISO. As always, set an appropriate white balance. And if you're using a tripod, you'll want to set the timer function. Let's begin by setting the sunset scene mode. Turn your mode dial to SCN. Now use the control dial to set the sunset scene. With the sunset scene selected, the camera is optimized for taking pictures of sunsets. Just like with the auto mode, compose your image in the frame and press the shutter button halfway to lock focus. Once the camera is locked focus, I can then press the shutter button the rest of the way to take the picture. If you want to have more control over the functions like ISO and white balance, I recommend using the program mode instead. Turn the mode dial to the P icon. The program mode, like the auto mode, sets an appropriate shutter speed and aperture for you, but it gives you control over things like ISO and white balance. First, go ahead and make sure the flash is turned off. Press the flash button or the right navigation button right here, and use the control dial to move the highlighted field to flash off. Then press set or give it a second to go away. Now make sure the ISO is properly set. You can use the ring in the front if the ring function is set to the default or the ISO setting. Or you can just use the function button to access the function menu, and at the top is the ISO function. Use the control dial to set the ISO to 80. 80 ISO will produce the cleanest colors in the sky. Now let's go ahead and set up the appropriate white balance. Go down to select the white balance function right here. Now, choose daylight for the most accurate colors in the sky, or if you want to warm up the tones in the image a bit, choose cloudy instead. Go ahead and press set to escape the function menu. Now with the flash turned off, my ISO set to 80, and the white balance properly set, I need to make sure my shutter speed is fast enough so I can handhold the camera. Go ahead and press the shutter button halfway. As long as the shutter speed is faster than 1/30th of a second, I should be fine hand-holding the camera. If the shutter speed is slower, then I want to use a tripod or set the camera down on something steady. If that's the case, I'm going to want to set the timer function. Press the down navigation button or the timer function icon right here, and use the control dial to set the timer function. Then use the ring dial in the front of the camera to set the amount of time the camera waits before taking the picture. In this case, 2 or 3 seconds is just fine. Then use the right or left navigation buttons to set the number of pictures that are taken once the time has been reached. I'll set it to 1. You can give it a second to go away or press the set button. Now with the timer function set, I can go ahead and take my picture. Place the focusing square over something with contrast in the distance, such as the horizon. Press the shutter button halfway to lock focus. Once the focusing square is turned green, recompose the image and press the shutter button the rest of the way to take the shot. If you have a hard time focusing and the focusing square turns yellow instead of green, you'll need to use the manual focus. What you need to do is press the manual focus button or the left navigation button right here and move over to manual focus. Then press set or give it a second to go away. Now use the control dial to set the distance gauge to infinity. With the distance gauge set to infinity, you're ready to take your picture. Now because you don't need to worry about focusing, you can compose your image first and press the shutter button halfway to lock the exposure. Now you can press the shutter button the rest of the way to take the picture.